Welcome, welcome to your lesson today on multiplying and dividing integers. So we're going to start off with multiplying, and the dividing is quite similar. I'm going to show you a couple ways to do it, and then you can figure out what works best for you. So first of all, how would you show positive 2 times positive 3 on a number line? So what positive 2 times 3 is saying is that, okay, well, I've got positive 2. Right, so that line represents positive 2, and I'm going to do it 3 times. There's another positive 2, and another positive 2, right, which takes me to 6. So, like you're familiar with, 2 times 3, right, is 6, so positive 6. Now, to represent it with integer chips, because they're positives, whoops, that goes away. I've got 1, 2, 3, there's positive 3, and I'm going to do it twice, right, times 2. So another positive 2. Right, so another positive 3 times positive 2, right, equals 6. Right? So let's get into some negatives. Here it says, what about negative 5 times positive 2? All right, so the first step is to represent negative 5. All right, so that line is negative 5. And again, I'm going to double it. I'm going to times it. So there's my other negative 5. My answer to that question is negative 10. Okay, so negative 5 times positive 2 is negative 10. If I were to represent the integer chips, here are my 5 negatives times 2. I'm going to double it. So look at that. All together, I've got 10 negatives. Now, there's a bit of a rule that comes along this, which maybe you've been familiar with before. Here, if it's a positive times a positive, I got a positive. Here, if it's a negative times a positive, I got a negative. So that's what we call the sign rule. The product, which is the product of two integers, so again, positive, negative, whole numbers, with the same sign is positive. The product of two integers with different signs is negative. So that means that positive 5 times negative 2 would also be negative 10. The first one, that also means that negative 3 times negative 2 is going to be a positive, which is positive 6. I'll show you some examples of how that works. So if you turn to your next page here, let's see. This one. Okay. So how do you tackle these questions? First step, ignore the fact there's positive and negatives. Just look at the numbers. So for our first question here, they're all just 2 times 4, 4 times 2. Now I can go through and apply my rule. Well, positive 4 and positive 2, same sign, means my answer is positive. This one, negative. Same sign, positive. This sign is negative. And 4 times 2, 2 times 4 gives me the same thing. Now, you don't have to write a positive in front of the 8. Actually, it's probably better not to, but as you're learning, if you need it there just to help build the habit, that's totally fine. These guys are going to be my negatives, and same signs give me positive. Now here, it says, remember, you can model the multiplication of a positive integer by any other integer, positive or negative, on the number line. So we can work the other way. This question, we want to know what multiplication statement it is. So one arrow looks like negative 2. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 3 of them. So negative 2 times negative 3, all right, there we go, gets me all the way to negative 6. Fantastic. So what I'd like you to do here, practice doing these without a calculator. If you want to go back and double check later, you can. The calculator does, most calculators do have a negative button, but you will be asked to do these without a calculator at some point. So try to get into the practice of it now. So if you want to pause me, try these and come back in a moment. Okay, welcome back. Now the last thing that we need to do for this particular section are some word problems. So here, we'll do the first one together and leave you for the second one. It says for 4 hours, the temperature in Victoria fell by 2 degrees Celsius each hour. What was the total change in temperature? So, right, that word fell makes me think negative, right? We're decreasing. And for 4 hours, so that -2, and I'm going to do that 4 times. So I could think about it like -2 plus -2, right, plus -2 plus -2 plus -2. But another way to go through that, right, and probably a little bit more mathematical, 4 times -2. Remember, those brackets, they need to multiply. There's no sign in between. Now, I know that it is a positive times a negative. 4 times 2 is 8. Because it's a word problem, I need to make sure I have my closing statement. Was -8 degrees Celsius, right? It dropped 8 degrees. Okay, so why don't you try the next word problem on your own, and then I'll meet you for the dividing questions. Okay, welcome back. Let me just meet you here on the page. So we're going to talk about dividing integers now. So it corresponds to sections 8.3 and 8.4 if you're following along in your Math Links textbook. So the first one, we have a number line again. It says, what division statements do these represent? So kind of that working backwards. Now this big arrow, it represents -10. And it looks like I've taken that -10 and I've chopped it in two. So -10 divided by 2. Now, each of those are worth -5. So I think, sorry about that, go away. Maybe, sorry, let's try. There we go. Right, -5. So -10 divided by +2 gives me -5. Let's try this one. So that big long arrow is +12. I've divided it into 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, 4 pieces. +12 divided by +4. Uh-oh, come back, number line. Let's do undo, undo. Maybe again. Undo, undo. Come here. Anyway, you get the idea. Sorry about that. It is positive. So each piece of that little number line here, that's now down on the bottom of the page, is +3. So the sign rule that we just learned for multiplication also applies for division. The quotient of, and quotient again is the answer for a division question. The quotient of two integers with the same sign, down there, is positive. Same rules before. The quotient of two integers with different signs is negative. Again, same rule as before. Most students find multiplying and dividing negative and positive numbers easier than adding and subtracting. Right, so if this is seeming pretty good to you, right, that's great news. So again, just to reiterate the point from last day, right, when you're solving these questions, multiplying, right, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So all of these, then I can go think about the signs. Same sign, positive. Same sign, positive. Signs negative. Now, sometimes you see questions completely words, no numbers. This says, if I had a negative number divided by a positive number, that would give me a negative number. Right? A positive number divided by a positive number is a positive number. So I'll let you do those last C and D on your own. Same thing in that calculate box. See what you can do on your own. Again, challenge yourself to do it without a calculator. And then why don't you pause the video and meet me back to try some of these more challenging ones over here. All right, good luck. All right, welcome back. Here we go. So, can you just want to make sure? I'm just going to double check to make sure you see what I see. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So, here it says we've got two integers, right? Have a product of positive 20 and a quotient of positive 4. That means something, product, remember, is multiplication, times something gives me positive 20. And those same two numbers, something divided by something, is positive 5. So these ones are a little bit of challenge questions. So in my head, I know, okay, 4 times 5 is 20, but 4 divided by 5 is definitely not 5. I know that 10 times 2 is 20, and guess what? 10 divided by 2 is 5. Those are my magic numbers. Pretty cool, eh? Let's try this one. So something times something is negative 18. Those same two numbers have to give me a quotient, whoops, sorry, it should be divided by, of negative 2. So now I know if my answer is negative, that means one's positive, one's negative. Same thing with division. One's positive, one's negative. All right, so I'll let you try those on your own, and then let's do some of the word problems on the back. Okay, welcome to the word problems. So I'll do the first one with you, and then I'll set you free for the last two, and that'll be it for our lesson. The first question says, once Kyle takes 4 bus trips on each day of the weekend, he spends $16 each weekend on bus fares. How much does the trip cost? Okay, so I know that he spends $16 on bus fares. Here's my total, and I want to know 4 bus trips. Right, that's $16. If you think about it like this, if this is $16, I divide that 16 into 4 bus trips. Right, how much is each of those bus trips? So 16 divided by 4. Remember that you can write division questions like fractions, right? It's the same thing as saying 16 divided by 4. I know that that's 4. So my concluding statement would say each trip is $4. Okay, so that one was positive divided by positive gave me a positive. This one we've got some negatives. The deepest recorded dive is 500 meters for an emperor penguin and 2,000 meters for a sperm whale. How many times as deep does a sperm whale dive compared to an emperor penguin? So dive means to go down. So I know that the emperor penguin, right, can go 500 meters. I know a sperm whale can go 2,000 meters, right? Again, down, so we're getting to the negatives. I want to know how many times bigger the sperm whale is than the penguin. So you're looking for how many times 500 goes into 2,000. All right, it's a division question. All on you. Try the last one there. If you have any questions, please come ask in class next day. All right, please complete the online questions that go along with this, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.